ॐ दक्षिणास्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्ण पाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So we have completed the second Mundaka fully, both the sections of the second Mundaka we have completed. And now we are going to the very last chapter or the third Mundaka, which again contains two khandas or two chapters. Now the teaching is actually over. Whatever important teaching has to be there. The question that the Shishya Shaunaka asked the Guru Angiras as to what is it by knowing which everything is known, that was answered with what is that Brahman. And in the previous section, it was not only again reiterated as to what is that Brahman, but all the mantras in the previous section talked about the Mahavakya Vichara. That is, that Brahman is not something that one should look for outside. It's not something which we should search for. That Brahman is not an object of our knowledge or the object of our perception. That Brahman is this very consciousness, this very content of the Tvam Padartha, that I, that consciousness I, or that Sakshi Chaitanya I, which is available within this body, mind, sense complex, within this Hridaya Gruha itself, which is seen, which is Upalabdha, that which can be easily recognized in the form of ahamasmi iti Sphuratam Brahma, that Brahma which is constantly there pulsating in me, within me as I am, as that Sakshi Chaitanya, that Atma, that Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, I am nothing but that Brahman. And what did he say at the end? That knowledge gives rise to what? That knowledge gives rise to a destruction of my ignorance once and for all. The ignorance of my own Swarupam, the ignorance of what Jiva is, ignorance of what the Jagat is, ignorance of what Ishvara is, all this is completely wiped off in a second at that moment. The very moment of knowledge is the very moment of destruction of all ajnanam or ignorance, which gives rise to what? Which gives rise to total freedom of samsara. And that was what was explained in the form of Bhidyate Hridaya Grantihi Chidyante Sarva Samshayaha Kshiyante Chasya Karmani Tasmin Drishte Paravare. When I see this Brahman, that is I myself, I this consciousness, this Brahman, as the very Karana Karya Brahman, that which is the Karanam of everything here, and that which manifests as the very Karyam in this entire Jagat. Millions of Namarupas as Karya, the Karyam, that is nothing but this Brahman or Atma itself. And then it ended. Ultimately, the chapter ended with saying that it is that Brahman, that Atma, Tat Brahma, Sa Atma, that both of them being the same is everywhere. I don't have to look for it anywhere. It is everywhere. Whatever I'm seeing is nothing but Brahman. Whatever I am perceiving, whatever I'm experiencing is nothing but Brahman with a name and form. So what is said is that there is this Brahman experience in everything. This Brahman or Atma itself is manifesting as everything is in this Jagat. So when I perceive anything, when I experience anything, I'm not only experiencing the name and form, but simultaneously I'm experiencing this consciousness or Atma Brahman also. But because that Brahman is so subtle, and because the names and forms are so gross, therefore I get lost in the names and forms. In the name and form, Nama Rupa, I get lost, and I'm not aware of that Adhishtanam Brahma. But wherever I see, wherever I am, whatever I experience is nothing but Brahma Anubhava. There is no separate Brahma Anubhava anywhere. In every experience, in every thought, in every perception, in every object, what I'm seeing, what I'm perceiving is nothing but this Brahman. But I don't understand it because the Nama Rupa as though covers this experience and I'm not aware of it. This is what is explained very clearly in the second chapter, 16th verse. Nasato vidyate bhavaha. In Bhagavad Gita, where Bhagwan Shankaracharya writes a beautiful commentary where he says that everything that I experience is nothing but this Brahman. But unfortunately, what happens is this Nama Rupa Jagat literally confiscates my attention, and I'm not paying any attention to that Brahman. Like when I see a movie, when I experience a movie, I'm experiencing the movie along with the screen. There are two things which are being experienced. The screen experience is there, the movie experience is there. But the screen experience is literally as if covered by the movie experience. The moving forms and names are the ones which are captivating my attention, and the experience of the screen, which is simultaneously experienced with the entire movie, that experience I'm not very, I don't pay attention to it. And what do we do when we have to see, when we understand, when a jnani understand that there is Brahman everywhere? In every experience, there is Brahman. What does a jnani do? How does a jnani change his perception? What is his vision? He sees Brahman everywhere, manifesting in various names and forms. That's all is the difference in perception. What is my vision now and Ajnani's vision? There is only name and form. Though I'm experiencing Brahman with every name and form, I see only the name and form. But a jnani sees only Brahman in every experience, in every object. He understands or he sees only Brahman. and does not bother about what the name and form is. The name and form is incidental. The content Brahman is the real. That is the real Vastu. That is the Paramarthika Satyam. And whatever is a changing experience of objects is nothing but Mithya. But what is it for us, for an Ajnani? Whatever we see and experience changing itself is real, and whatever is the real thing, which is Brahman, is missed. This is the only difference between an Ajnani and a Jnani. And what a difference it makes. As an Ajnani, I get caught, continue to be caught in this name and form. As a Jnani, what happens? The Jnani is completely, totally freed from the bondage of this Namarupa Prapancha. This is how the previous section ended. Now, what is the need to have one more chapter? Out of compassion for us, for the listeners, for the Shishas, the Upanishad again summarizes in the first section of the third Mundaka or the last Mundaka, in the first 2-3 verses, I think 3 or 4 verses, it summarizes the Atma Brahma Abhedam. Jiva Ishvara Abhedam is again, summarized, but in a different form, so that there is no repetition. In a different way, it is summarized so that I understand it better. That is the way the Upanishads really open up. That's why we see a lot of verses are repetitions, but the repetitions are what? That's the same thing, that same Brahman, that same Atma Brahma Aikyam is told in a little different way. So, whichever way one can understand, it helps the person to understand because of the very subtlety of the subject, because of the very subtlety of the very Vastu, Brahman, we are trying to understand. The Upanishad tries to explain it in various ways. Now, in this section, which we are going to see, the first 3 verses are going to talk about that very consciousness or Brahman, which is Upalabdha in me, the Hridaya Guha, as the Jivatma and Paramatma. What is Paramatma? What is Jivatma? What is this all-pervading consciousness, Sakshi Chaitanya Atma? And what is that consciousness which is presenting itself as a Chidabhasa in every Jiva? So, what is this consciousness? We can call it the all-pervading consciousness or the only consciousness, Ekameva Advitiyam Brahma. But when that Brahman or when that consciousness, which is all-pervading, gets reflected in the Sukshma Sharira, that is in the subtlest part of the Sukshma Sharira called Buddhi, in any living being, a reflection is formed. The Atma or the Sarvagata Atma does not do anything to form a reflection. Automatically, wherever there is a reflecting medium, like the Buddhi in every Jiva, a reflection is formed called as the Chidabhasa. So, Bimba Chaitanyam is we don't need to call it original. We can say that consciousness, which is all pervading consciousness, Sarvagata Atma, is called as the Bimba Chaitanyam, the main one, the only consciousness. But that which gets reflected in every Jiva's Buddhi, it's called as the Abhasa Chaitanyam or Pratibimba Chaitanyam or Chidabhasa. We have already seen that in all our previous texts. So this Chidabhasa, along with the reflecting surface, the Buddhi, and the entire Sukshma Sharira of this Upadhi, we call it as the Jivatma. When this consciousness gets reflected in the Buddhi Guha, in the Buddhi, being a reflection which is limited by the limiting adjunct or limiting the upadhi of buddhi, it looks as if I, the Jivatma, am limited. This Jivatma, I get an individuality. This reflected the reflection of consciousness, or what we call as the Chidabhasa or Pratibimba Chaitanya, along with this body mind sense complex, develops a individuality. It thinks that it's a different individual, and therefore an ahankara is formed. So the jivatma can be called as the ahankara also. So the Sakshi Chaitanya Atma, the one and the only consciousness, and this jivatma, which is nothing but the Chidabhasa, the reflection formed in the buddhi, along with the other parts of the upadhi, which we call as a jiva. I call myself as a jiva. Who am I? What is this jiva? The sthula sharira, the sukshma sharira, karana sharira with the ahankara formed by the reflection of this consciousness, Chidabhasa. And naturally, the Chidabhasa being a reflection is as bright as the consciousness or Bimba Chaitanyam. Let's take an example. When sun gets reflected in 100 mirrors which are kept there, let's say there are 100, or okay, let's say 5 mirrors are kept. Sun is getting reflected. Is the sun doing anything to get reflected? No. Because there is a reflecting surface called as the mirror, the sun automatically gets reflected. That is the Bimba Surya. This is the Pratibimba Surya in the mirror. But the Pratibimba Surya is also bright, and the Pratibimba Surya can also light up things around it. Similarly, the Bimba Chaitanyam or the consciousness, which is nothing but the light of consciousness, Jyotisham Jyotihi, which we saw, when it gets reflected in the buddhi of every jiva, that Abhasa Chaitanyam is also bright enough to light up the entire body mind sense complex and the entire world which we are perceiving through all our senses. So, in me, in every jiva, there are as though two things. There is that Bimba Chaitanya or Sakshi Chaitanya Atma which is everywhere, and there is Abhasa Chaitanya or Chidabhasa which is and in the each individual buddhi, which gives each individual a sense of individuality. Therefore, we have two things. There is this Jivatma, the Abhasa Chaitanya, along with the Sukshma Sharira, and the Paramatma, which is that consciousness which is pervading everywhere, which is there in everything, in every Jiva. But then, because it is getting reflected in every jiva according to a particular jiva's buddhi, the limitations of the buddhi are transferred to the reflection that is there. So, in some jivas, the reflection is very bright. In some jivas, when there is some buddhi doshas or the buddhi is limited, the chaitanyam or the abhasa chaitanyam or pratibimba may not be that bright enough. But then these two, Jivatma and Paramatma, are inseparable. They are together and they are inhabiting every body of every Jiva. Then what is the difference between them? That is what is going to be told in the first two verses of the next section. That is the third Mundaka and the first section. So let us read this. Dva suparna sayuja sakhaya samanam vriksham parishasvajate tayoranyah pippalam swadvati anashnan anyo abhichakashiti. So here an imagery is given. What is an imagery here? The imagery of two birds which are perching on one tree. We have seen this same mantra in Kathopanishad also, if you remember. There also, the same mantra was talked about when Jivatma and Paramatma were described. So if consciousness is one and the same everywhere, then what is this Jivatma? What is this Paramatma? What do we mean by Jivatma Paramatma Aikya? Are there two things really called Jivatma and Paramatma? Or what is it that we mean by Jivatma? What is it that we mean by Paramatma? That is what is told in these verses. So now let us see what it says. It says here, Dva Suparna Sayuja Sakhaya. Dva Suparna. Here it's a Vedic language, therefore grammatically Dva Suparna we don't use, we use some other term, but doesn't matter. Dva Suparna means there are two birds. Suparna means birds, and those with shining birds, shining feathers. Those two shining feathered birds, Dva Suparna. And how are they? Sayuja. They're always together. They're always as though inseparable from each other. Sakhaya. They are friends as though they are very close to each other. Samanam vriksham parishasvajate. They are both perching on the same tree. Here, what is the tree? The body, mind, sense complex of a jiva is the tree. And in this body, mind, sense complex jiva, tree of the jiva, we have as though two birds. One is called as the Jivatma bird, one is called as the Paramatma bird. Really, there are no two. There is only one thing, but it appears as two because of the reflection. Just like if the sun is reflecting in 5 mirrors, there are no 6 suns. There is only one sun, the other 5 are reflections. If I look at myself in the mirror, there is a reflection in the mirror and there is this original face, the bimba. The bimba face is there and the pratibimba face is there in the mirror. But do I say there are two things? No. I don't count the pratibimba as the second one. Then what do I say? There is only one original face and there is one reflection. But the reflection is not real. It's only an experiential reality. It is not real. This is the real. This is real face. That is only an experiential reality. With the disappearance of the reflecting surface, that mirror, it will go away, but I will not go away. If the mirror is shifted from in front of me, the reflection will go away, but I will not go away. If 5 mirrors are kept on the ground and if sunlight is getting reflected, then there is only one sun. And if I remove the 5 mirrors, nothing happens to the sun. Only the reflections go away. Therefore, the reflection is an experiential reality. Therefore, mithya. This Jivatma is a reflection. It is an experiential reality. It is sufficient enough to do all the work of this body, mind, sense complex. It is sufficient for me to lead my entire life, even without knowing I am that consciousness, that powerful. This reflection is capable of doing everything. But then it is a mere experiential reality. It is not the original. As long as the Sukshma Sharira is there, as long as the Buddhi is there, this reflection Jivatma is there. Once this body dies and the Sukshma Sharira leaves, this reflection also leaves. The reflection is gone, but the consciousness, the Bimba Chaitanyam is always still there. It is there, only the reflection is gone. And it is the reflection which gives life to this body. It is the reflection which carries on all the functions of the body. So he says here, there are as though two birds. It's one consciousness manifesting as two birds, and they're both bright. Atma being bright because of its very nature, and Abhasa Chaitanya also bright because it is the very reflection of the bright Atma. Dva Suparna. Dvau Suparnau, or two birds. Sayuja, almost inseparable. They're together. Can you separate this consciousness from Jivatma? You cannot. Can you separate the Jivatma from this consciousness? No, you cannot separate. Therefore, Sayuja, almost they are together. Sakhaya, like they are friends. Samana vriksham parishasvajate. Samana vriksham. Samana vriksham means what? They are inhabiting or residing on the same tree. This body mind sense complex of every person, every jiva is nothing but, the dwelling point of both the things. Parishasvajate means they are purged. Parishasvajate literally means they are embracing each other, absolutely with each. They can't be away from each other, but they are perching on this tree. Parishasvatayoho. Out of them, anyaha pipalam swaduvati. One of them, the Jivatma bird, is running around here and there, going up and jumping and flying from one branch to the other. Today it is sitting on this branch. After 5 minutes, it sits on a higher branch. Then it comes down to a lower branch, all the time eating the fruits that are there on the tree. What is the meaning of this? It means the Jivatma is constantly experiencing or eating the karma phalas, the fruit of one's actions, the fruits of one's actions, karma phala. And it goes on jumping. There's not a single minute where this Jivatma bird is sitting quietly. Are we sitting quietly? Even for 5 minutes, can we sit quietly? No. We want to do something. We do this, we do that, we do this action, that action, accrue a lot of karma phala, and then jump from branch to branch. That means from one loka to the other, from one body to the other, from one place to the other. We keep on jumping. In this life also, we keep on jumping. Why? Because we want to find something better. We want to do better. We want to accumulate more. We want to acquire more. I keep jumping here and there. I keep doing all kinds of karma, accumulate a lot of phala, leave this body and go, come back again in another body, in some other field of experience, maybe here in this earth or in some other higher loka somewhere else. Or I may be born, in the body of an animal or a plant if my karma phalas are very, 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 very negative. So this Jivatma bird is constantly doing karma, accruing or eating the karma phala, and also jumping from one place to the other, from one loka to the other, from one body to the other. But what happens to the other bird, the Paramatma bird? Anashnan anyaha abhichakashiti. Anashnan, this Paramatma bird does not do any karma because it is a karta. It does not have to eat any fruits of its karma phala. It is abhokta. This Paramatma bird does not have to go here and there because it is all pervading, present everywhere. Therefore, what does it do? It is just sitting in one place, that is on one of the top branches, and watching Abhichakashiti, constantly watching. 13th chapter, do you remember? Upadrishta Anumanta. Do you remember what is this Atma? Upadrishta, the one who's constantly watching anything that is happening. Watching the Jivatma doing all its activity, good or bad, dharma or adharma. Watching all that the Jivatma is accruing, good, bad, whatever. Constantly, this Atma, Paramatma, Anashnan, without doing anything, without accruing anything, being an akarta, abhokta, abhichakashiti. It is just observing Sakshi, Who's the jumping around bird? The Jivatma. Whereas Paramatma is what? Just sitting. Sitting means what? Present there and watching. The example is only till there. You please don't ask, is Jivatma a bird? Is Paramatma a bird? It is just an example. The Paramatma or Sakshi Chaitanya Atma is everywhere. Only Jivatma is limited to a particular body, mind, upadhi. So what does this Paramatma do? It doesn't do anything. It just is a Drik Svarupa. We call that Drik. Just observing Sakshi Chaitanya Atma. Alupta Drik it is called. Alupta means without even blinking one's eyes, when you just see something happening. No emotions, no thoughts, no kartritvam, no bhoktritvam, no desire to do anything. Akarta, abhichakashiti. As an alupta drik, constant watcher. As a constant observer, this Atma is there. So these are the two birds. So what is the Jivatma? It is the same Paramatma. Unfortunately limited by the Upadhi, thinks that it is incomplete, thinks that it is an individual. It thinks, who thinks this Ahankara, which is nothing but this Jivatma? I'm incomplete. I'm limited. I don't have enough. That person is having more than me. If I have that, I will be happy. If I get rid of this thing which I have, I will be happy. All this is Jivatma's dialogue. And therefore, what does it do? Goes on accumulating things, goes on doing karma, and in consequence, it accumulates karma. It accrues karma. And because of it, it goes on going up and down, up and down, up and down. Do you remember the samsara vriksha, which we studied in Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter? That samsara vriksha. It is this samsara vriksha. This body and mind sense complex is nothing but samsara, in which this Jivatma is constantly fluttering around, and Paramatma, without being a karta bhokta, being a karta abhokta, is just sitting, or it is just present there. But you can't separate it from the Jivatma. Okay? The Paramatma doesn't advise Jivatma, hey, why are you doing this? Don't do all this. It won't advise. It'll just watch whatever it is doing. It is the consciousness behind the doer Jivatma. The consciousness behind the observer Jivatma doesn't do anything. Then, what is the plight of this Jivatma and what is the plight of this Paramatma? There's no plight for Paramatma, because Paramatma is absolutely relaxed and Sve Mahimni Pratishtita. Therefore, it has no problem. So, what is the problem of this Jivatma? Now, in the second verse, it says, Samane vrikshe purusho nimagnaha anishaya shochati muhyamanaha jushtam yatha pashyati anyam isham asya mahimanamiti vitashokaha. Says that in this samane vrikshe, in this common body, in one, jiva body, in one jiva upadhi, purusho nimagnaha. Here purusha means this jivatma, purushaha. Who is that person? This individual called as the person or the jivatma. Nimagnaha. Completely lost. Lost in the upadhi. Thinking that I am this upadhi. I am as good as the upadhi, I am as bad as the upadhi, I am as tall as the upadhi, I am as dark as the upadhi, I am as stupid as this upadhi, I am as intelligent as this upadhi, I am as rich as what I have, I am as poor as what I don't have. Nimagnaha. Completely lost in this samsara. Who? Purushaha. Means what here? Purushaha here is not Atma, Purusha or Brahman. It is the Jivatma. It is the Jivatma Purushaha Nimagnaha. Samsara Sagare Nimagnaha. Literally drowning in the Samsara Sagar. Like we have seen in Bhajagovindam, no? Like a dry, like a dried fruit or a dried branch which has fallen into the ocean and which goes on going here and there, taken by the waves of the ocean like that. I come back, the Jivatma comes back again and again and again into this samsara and tossed around, literally tossed around by the waves of samsara, nimagna, helplessly. So, Anishaya Shochati Muhyamana. Anishaya, helplessly. Don't we all feel helpless sometimes? We all feel. Whatever I do, I'm tired of this thing. I'm sick of something. Somebody told me, I'm sick of wanting. Very intelligent. That person has at least observed. Many of us may not even understand that we are constantly wanting something, constantly wanting more and more. This person says, I'm tired and sick of wanting more and more, but I don't know what to do. At least the person has recognized the problem. Anishaya, helplessly, shochati, unhappy, shoka, shochati muhyamanaha, deluded, raga, shoka, moha. We have already seen that. This is the samsara karanam. Right from the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we have seen raga, shoka, moha are the samsara. Not only for Arjuna, but for all of us. Anishaya. Anishaya means what? Helplessly. That's what Arjuna said. Karpanya dosha apahata svabhavaha. Karpanya, helplessness. I feel helpless. I feel limited. I feel unhappy with whatever I have. There is always a sense of deficiency in me. There is always a sense of wanting to do something. Always a sense of wanting more where I'll be happy. Always a sense of looking for something which will make me more comfortable. This is what is called as Anishaya Shochati Muhyamana. Helplessly, I'm all the time sorrowful and deluded and run around, not only in this life, I have done it for millions of lives. I don't know how many lives, how many bodies I've had in this, Anadi Prapancha, in these Anadi creations. This is my which life, who knows? I don't know. If I'm here, that means I've traveled all these lives. Still, I'm doing the same thing. But then, sometime or the other, with the grace of the Guru, with the grace of the Shastra, with the punya of Karma Yoga and Upasana that probably I would have done in some life, what happens? I see that there is something more than this. There is something which I see, which I understand is going to release me from this raga, shoka, moha, rupi, samsara. So he says in the third line, Jushtam yatha pashyati anyam isham. When this Jivatma bird sees or understands that there is this worshipable, exalted Paramatma bird, Pashyati. Pashyati here means what? When it realizes that I can't simply realize like that, guided by the Guru and Shastra. How will I otherwise understand? That I'm not what I really think I am, and in me only there is something else which is free from all these things. How will I understand it? I will understand only with the grace of the Guru and Shastra, isn't it? So, yatha pashyati, as and when this Jivatma bird sees or realizes Jushtam, Isham, Anyam Isham. Isham means what? Ishvara, the Ishvara bird or the all-pervading Atma, or this exalted other bird, when this bird sees, or it sees means what? There are not two things for one bird to see the other bird, but when it realizes, pashyati means when it realizes or understands that there is another one. Anyam means what? The other one. What is that other one? I do not know now what that other one is. But the Shastra and the Guru are there to tell me what that other one is, by knowing which I can be free from this samsara forever. Jushtam, that worshipable, exalted, the one which is worshipful, the one which is the highest, or the Paramarthika Satyam, that shining one. Jushtam yatha pashyati anyam isham jushtam yada pashyati. Who pashyati? This Jivatma. Pashyati here means what? Understands, realizes that there is a hope for me. Samsara sagare, from the samsara sagarat, taranam, it's there, it's not difficult, it is possible. Vivek Chudamani, the Guru tells the Shishya, there is no bhaya for you, there is upayah asti, samsara sagarat. From there, for taranam is possible. There is an upaya. What is the upaya? Understanding that this anyam jushtam paramatma bird is nothing other than myself. And how do I understand it? With the help of the Guru and Shastra. See, all these things are not mentioned here. We have to build it up and understand it. Jushtam yata pashyati anyam isham. Isham means that exalted Ishvara. When it sees that isham, when it sees anyam isham, then what happens? Asya mahimanam iti vita shokaha. When it sees its glory as nothing but my glory. I am not this limited body, mind, sense complex. I am not this limited individual, but I am that limitless Atman, Paramatma. When I see this, when I see the Mahima of myself, when I understand I'm really that, I'm mistaken myself to be this, then what happens? Vita Shoko Bhavati. This bird, this Jivatma bird or this Jivatma, Vita Shokaha. All the Shoka, Raga, Moha, the Samsara Granthi is gone. The Hridaya Granthi is gone. This is the meaning of Vidyate Hridaya Grantihi. When I, the Jivatma, see myself not as a separate consciousness, not as a limited Jiva, but as that unlimited Jyotisham Jyotihi Sakshi Chaitanya Atma iti, when I see myself with the help of the Guru and Shastra, that is when I completely escape from this samsara of Shoka Moha. So what is Jivatma? What is Paramatma? And what is it that a Jivatma has to do to get out of this Raga, Shoka, Moha? That is what has been told here in the first two verses. Now in the third verse, the same concept which was given in the previous verse is talked about again. What is it? What does it say? Yada pashyaha pashyate rukmavarnam kartaramisham purusham brahmayonim tada vidvan punyapape vidhuya niranjanaha paramam samyamupaiti. The same thing which we saw in the second verse, the same thing is told in a different way. So, yada pashyaha pashyate. Yada pashyaha means when this jivatma, the onlooker, the jivatma, pashyate, when it sees means what? When it realizes. Rukma varnam kartaram purusham brahmayonim. Rukma Varnam means this golden. What is the meaning of golden? light of consciousness. When this Pashyaha, this Jivatma bird or Jivatma, Pashyate, understands what? That I am not different. I am the very same Paramatma bird, but I am mistaking myself to be a separate entity because of my ignorance. So yatha pashyat, yada pashyat, pashyaha pashyate, rukma varnam. That bird or Paramatma, which is the light of consciousness, Jyotisham Jyotihi, Kartaram Isham, the one who's the creator of this entire universe, Kartaram, Isham, the very Ishvara or the very ruler of this entire universe. Kartaram means the creator, Isham means the very lord of the universe, the one who is ruling over the entire universe, because of whose Shasana all the universal laws are functioning. Rains are coming in time, seasons are coming in time, day and night are happening. All the planets and the galaxies and the whole universe is following all the laws, not chaotically, orderly. That is why this Brahman is called as the Isham or Ishvaraha, the one who is running, the one because of whose laws, the one because of whose intelligence the whole manifest universe is functioning in an order. Kartaram, the creator, Isham, the very lord or the very controller of the universe, Purusham. Purusham. What is the meaning of Purusham? Purusham means this Atma. Here the Purusham means this Atma or the Paramarthika Satya Brahman or Atma. Brahma Yonim, the very Karanam, the Upadana Karanam, the material Karanam of this entire universe. Kartaram, the intelligent cause. Brahma Yonim, the Upadana Karanam. Nimitta Upadana Karanam, and also the very controller or the lord of the entire universe. When I see, when I understand that Kartaram Isham Brahmayonim Rukmavarnam, when I understand as none other than me, not different from me, what happens? Tada, yada, we saw, yada means when it is seen, tada, then vidvan punya pape vidhuya. Vidvan means who? The one who sees, the one who understands, the one who successfully sees the abheda between this Jivatma and Paramatma, the one who clearly understands that I am not this limited Chidabhasa Chaitanya, limited by this Upadhi. No, this is a mere reflection which is sufficient enough to do all my activities in this Jagat, but I am not this. I am that Rukmavarna Kartara Ishaha Purushaha Brahmayonihi. I am the Nimitta Upadana Karanam and also the controller or the lord of this entire universe. And that light of consciousness is none other than me. When I realize this realization, this person who realizes this is called as a Vidwan. Vidwan or a Jnani. Punya pape vidhuya. He is free from his punya papa. Why? This knowledge frees me forever from all my sanchita karmas, punyas and papas. Punya is as much as a bondage as papa. It's not different. To go through punya, to work out punya, I have to come back again. To work out papa also, I have to come back again. But only thing is, if you have lot of punya, you suffer happily. If you have lot of papa, I suffer miserably. That's the only difference. But coming and going again and suffering the samsara is same. Comfortably suffer the samsara, lot of punya. Uncomfortably, miserably suffer the samsara, papa. Nothing else. Samsara remains the same. Nothing more than that. Therefore, Vidvan Punya Pape Vidhuya. He's literally washed of all the punyas and papas. Means what? Washed of all the accumulated karma phalas. All the accumulated karma phalas, this Vidvan or this Jnani is washed off. Niranjanaha Paramam Samyam Upaiti. That means what? He attains oneness with this Brahman. What is the meaning of attaining? It's not as if Jivatma or Brahman is here and I'm here, Jivatma. I get this knowledge and I go and join. No, it is not that. Brahma, Niranjanaha, Samyam Upaiti means what? I understand that I have never been separate from it. It's not Aikyam means that we were two different things and now I have become one. No, I have always been that consciousness. Jivatma, Paramatma are inseparable, one consciousness, but I did not know it. That was my ignorance. And now with this knowledge, what happens? Samyam Upaiti. Samyam Upaiti means what? I become one. Become one means what? I understand that I have never been separate. There's no question of becoming. There's no question of attaining anything in moksha. It is a mere understanding that I have always been Paramatma. I have never been separate from Anatma. Advayatvam, Advaita, or Abheda Jnanam is what is called as moksha. Abheda Jnanam is what is called as Samyam Upaiti, Apnoti. Okay? All this means nothing but I have understood very clearly that there has never been any bheda. Next, in the fourth verse, what it says is, it is this consciousness, which consciousness, Paramatma, sustains all life, all forms of life in the form of Jivatma. That's it. Nothing else. Jivatma and Paramatma are not separate, but it is that consciousness which sustains all forms of life, which sustains all activities of all the jivas through the Chidabhasa, through the reflection. But what is it that is actually sustaining everything? It is that Paramatma or consciousness Swarupa. All these mean the same. Paramatma, Brahman, Atma, and all these words, they all Ishvara. They ultimately mean the same thing. They are all Paryaya Padas. So in the fourth verse, he says, Prano ह्येष यः सर्वभूतैर्विभाति विजानन् विद्वान् भवते नातिवादी आत्मक्रीडः आत्मरतिः क्रियावान् येष ब्रह्मविदां वरिष्ठः. The phalam of this knowledge. Every time the Upanishad gives the phalam, because we always want to know what's the purpose in knowing that I am Paramatma, I am not the Jivatma. I am that Paramatma only. I have always lived in this mistake all the time. What is the use of that particular knowledge? Though he has given, Punya Pape Vidhuya, Samyam Upaiti, that he has told. But again, the Upanishad Guru is talking about the phalam of this knowledge, saying that what is this Atma? What is this Atma? Now we should not ask Jivatma or Paramatma. Okay, it is one Atma. What is this Atma? Prano hyesha yaha sarva bhutair vibhati. Okay, yeshaha, this Ishvara or this Paramatma. Okay, sarva bhutaihi vibhati. All forms, in all things, it shines. This Paramatma, this consciousness, shines as existence in all non-living objects. It shines as existence and consciousness in all the living beings. Pranaha, okay, pranaha means this consciousness is that which sustains all life. That's why it's called as prana. Here the prana is indicating this Brahman. Yaha, yesha, yaha, sarva bhutair vibhati. prana rupena, mana rupena. It is available in every jiva that sustains life. Vijanan vidvan bhavate nativadi. Vijanan, knowing this, what? I am that Paramatma. I am shining in every Jivatma. I am that Atma which is sustaining life in every Jiva. Knowing that Vidvan Bhavate Nativadi, Na Ativadi Bhavati. He becomes silent. He does not talk much. What is the meaning of Ativadi? A person does not involve himself in things which are not necessary. Now, what do? We involve ourselves in everything which is unnecessary. Gossip, politics, fashion, going out, whatever it is. Nothing wrong. Vedanta doesn't say it's wrong. That vyavahara, whatever, we are all the time involved in the vyavahara outside. Thinking too much, talking too much. But this person, having seen that I am that Atma which is enlivening all the living beings, na ativadi bhavate. That means he doesn't feel the need to involve himself unnecessarily where it is not necessary. So his mind, his bakindriya, all his other organs, karmendriyas, they only act as and when necessary, according to whatever is needed. They are not unnecessarily involved in unnecessary activities. Therefore, he does not cross the limits of anything. He knows, he's happy. There's no need for him to keep jumping from here and there. Therefore, na ativadi bhavati. Ativadi means actually the one who talks too much. But here, talks too much means the one who's not too much engaged in anatma. That's it. He withdraws himself from anatma, keeps anatma vyavahara to the extent as minimal as possible. Atma kridaha atmaratihi kriyavan. He is happy in himself, does not need anything else to make him happy. He does not go after things to give him happiness. Atma kridaha. Atmaratihi. We have seen that in Bhagavad Gita also. Atmaratihi Atmakridaha. The one who is happy, the one who does not depend on anything else for his happiness. He is happy in himself, with himself, and he becomes what? He becomes a Kriyavan. It doesn't mean that he remains lazy or inactive. He does what he has to do. If he's a grahastha, he plays the role of a grahastha. If he's a sannyasi, he plays the role of a sannyasi. If he's a Vedanta teacher, he plays the role of a Vedanta teacher. So, Kriyavan. Just because I am Bhagavan or I am Atma, he doesn't sit. Kriyavan bhavati. Whatever is necessary, whatever is his role, he plays it without getting involved as a doer. Therefore, whatever action he does, akarta abhokta rupena he does, and he does not accrue any papa or punya. Yesha brahmavidam varishtaha. Among the knowers of the Vedas, this person who has understood the teaching of Vedanta, the abhedam between Jivatma and Paramatma, is the exalted person. He is a jnani. Knowers of Vedas means what? I may be chanting the Vedas entirely, but I may not have this knowledge. So among the knowers of Vedas, Brahmavidam, Yesha Yeva Varishtaha. This person is the most exalted one. These four verses are the Atma, Jivatma, Paramatma, Abheda and its phalam. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशां भवीमेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुस्तदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु ma kaschid dukkham apnuyat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat.